Fat Jack Sports Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, the Fat Jack. The weekend is here. Another weekend is here. NBA season is underway. It's Halloween coming up this week. Fat Man's holiday for candy. We went 11-2 last weekend. Come on, guys. Everything is going great. Are you betting the games? Now is the time to get signed up. Let me bring in my co-host because we have a ton to get to. As you can imagine, at FatJackSports.com from Louisville, Kentucky, Mr. Brandon Rush. How are you, buddy?
You know, the best birthday gift you could have given me, Jack, was an 11-2 last week. Holy crap. A perfect 5-0 on Sunday. Baseball playoffs are hot. We got the World Series, Breeders' Cup coming up next week. And like you said, the NBA starts this week. It is an insane time to be a member of the service. And again, very thankful for an incredible week last week.
Yeah, tell me again, when was your birthday? I forgot.
It was Saturday the 21st.
So I missed it.
No. You went 6-2. You delivered, sir.
It's the gift that keeps giving. Happy birthday. Happy belated birthday. You're right. And then 5-0. It was really hard for people to be upset last week.
Yeah.
I mean, which in October, you get this part of October into, late September, mid-October, everybody's panicking about everything when they've been betting on their own. So their fuse is so short. But it was hard to be upset. I mean, 6-2, the selection swept. A lot of times you get guys, man, I don't play the opinions. If you don't want to play the opinions, don't play the opinions. It just cost you money last week. By the way, 7-3 2 weeks ago with the opinions, and this last week they won again. So all it did was cost you money if you don't want to play it. If you did play it, you made great money. If you don't, the selections all won. They swept the board all weekend long, Saturday and Sunday. As you said, 5-0 again on Sunday. We were 3-1 last Sunday, and then 5-0 this Sunday. Sunday's going great. The NFL is going really, really well, and actually college is dialed in also. We talked about this last week. That I was about 2 games last week. Miami, Florida, when they played North Carolina, they turned it over 3 times. There was another one that came down the wire. That one Saturday took a small winning Saturday and turned into a small losing Saturday. Otherwise, we had swept the board Thursday, Friday with 3-1 Sunday. We're dialed in. I'm dialed in right now. Things are going great. You're going to have a little bit of bad luck sometimes, and then guess what? It turns around the next week, i.e., Miami of Florida against Clemson. We win in overtime. Now, they were an underdog. A lot of people say you get an underdog in overtime, you're supposed to win.
Right.
Wish it worked like that all the time. But that evened out. But that was the only game. Everything else last week wasn't even close. I mean, and for your birthday weekend, it was one of those that you really didn't even have to earn it. Teams like Oklahoma against Central Florida, we had under the total, which got a little dicey at the end with the 2-point conversion, but looked under the entire way. And we had, by the way, Central Florida. So we're going to lose both on that. Probably we're going to win both, deserve to win both. The over in the West Virginia-Oklahoma State game flew over the total, right? I mean, we didn't have to earn that one.
Oklahoma State just scored again, by the way.
Right? I mean, it got really easy there. Buffalo, minus the points, they were playing a team that could not score on them. They could still be playing. They would still have 2 field goals. Very, very easy. Ole Miss, Miami of Florida, both easy winners. On Sunday, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Denver, New England. Sounds like somebody just threw up NFL teams all over the table because nobody wanted to bet a lot of those games. Some of the easiest money out there, Brandon. We didn't have to earn any of them. And then we had over in the Baltimore game as well that snuck over. It snuck over early. Could have gotten over later if it had been a little closer. But the bottom line, great weekend last week. Everybody's into profit. It's not too late. I guess that's the other thing. NBA just starting. Right. College basketball just starting. You talked about the Breeders' Cup. That's free. And these streaks can last a long time. When we get dialed in, as I would say, we've been dialed in for 2 weeks at least, they can last a while. So go to Fat Jack. Go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
I was going to say, and to keep in mind that, yes, we just dropped off an 11-2 week. The football season's only half over. Like, there's a long way to go before this thing wraps up.
Yeah, nobody panics in this office. I mean, there's not if we go through a week or two, 2 or 3, when I was in London, the last week in London, we lost. And, guys just so stupid. I mean, I can't imagine hiring an investment firm or a guy to run my portfolio or any type of investment venture. And then if things don't go well in a very short sample size, emailing or calling or freaking out for it never would dawn on me to do that.
Right. If you're paying someone as a money market manager and all of a sudden, your portfolio went down 4% in a 9-day span, are you calling him, emailing him, blowing him up? No.
Maybe they are. I don't know. People are weird.
You know what? If you are someone in that business, at me on Twitter or Instagram and just be like, hey, give me an insight into what happens on a week where things underperform, because I doubt that they get the vitriol that you do.
Yeah, you own America and a plane crashes, or Apple goes down because they get a bug. I mean, something happens.
Right.
You get some
Right.
variance in there, and the stocks go down. Do you get kickback?
Hate mail.
I don't at me. I don't even care. But Brandon does, and he'll pass along me. He'll take the cliff notes of what you tell him to tell
Yes.
me. But I do think it's interesting because they panic there, but there's no panic. Year 2, year 3, maybe there was. Gosh, maybe I'm not good enough for this. I've
Mhm.
won money all this time, but maybe from a selling standpoint or charge, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe that's the problem. But 25 years in, dude, I mean, I know how this story ends. And I wrote that email 2 or 3 times over the last, and I typically don't write any email. I press delete, move on. But if they catch me in a total bored area, like I'm at the chiropractor sitting in the waiting room, it comes through, then I might give it 5 minutes or whatever. And I write the same thing every time somebody complains or is panicked. I say, we know how this story ends.
Mhm.
The question is, are you going to finish the book? Are you going to go to the movie? How long are you going to wait out the flowers of a silver moon or whatever it is? I mean, it's 3.5 hours. I mean, you stay 2 hours and you leave, you don't catch the end. So that's the only question. It's not, because we know how this ends. 25 or 26 years, we win. We know about 4 or 5 of these weekends we just had are coming. This is not
Still to come. Still to come between now and the Super Bowl, right?
And that's not count basketball. That's just football. We're going to have a bunch of 11-2s. So just because we go through the first month of the season, we have a losing week, we have a push week, we have a couple of small winning weeks. Nobody's panicking because we know how this story ends. The question is, you as a gambler, are you going to make a decision that's going to have you winning, that's going to get you on the right side long term, or are you going to be that moron that gets on the computer, types away, and then goes off and decides that he knows everything there is to know about everything, and either quits gambling or loses on his own? Don't do that. Go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up. It's very inexpensive. Long term, right now you get a lot of great value because you've got basketball starting. You do have the Breeders' Cup, which you don't charge for. And you also get these longer months with some holidays in them. So $4.99 gets you everything through November for football. $5.99 football and basketball. That's typically a monthly price, but you're getting a month over a week of football and basketball coming on. We didn't lose last week. It's not a $99. This is literally 11-2 last week. For less than $100 a week, you can get in on the continuation of this streak and the next streak and the next streak. Want to save more money? Go longer term. Get everything through the Super Bowl, March Madness, the NBA Finals. You'll save even more. Breaks down about $70 a week for those longer packages. Hundreds of guys from around the country not only have done that this year, but do it every year for the better part of 2 decades because they understand the big weeks are coming. So go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up today, and start winning. Brandon, what stuck out?
Stuck out. I don't think stuck is the proper tense of stuck.
It's definitely not. Reminds me of Michael Scott. What did he say that time? A short,
yeah.
He said I'm short. What part of short don't you understand? Well,
but
all parts of short.
What stuck out to me, how many teams came flat this week? I mean, even though we were on Oklahoma, it was a great letdown spot. After the big Texas win, after a bye week, many people would think, oh, maybe the bye week recalibrated them. But you saw Texas struggle with Houston. We saw Ohio State and Penn State was an absolute pillow fight. And then even on the NFL side, teams that were playing very well. You got Detroit, who was a juggernaut. They were celebrating the fact they had 5 wins. And then they go and they lay an egg. I mean, there were a bunch of teams that I think a lot of the general public was probably thinking that they were ready, they were poised. It was a big week for them, and then kaput.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're in the time of year, Brandon. Let's not forget. Normally, October, we have these D-Day weekends where 5 of the top 10 lose, and and we haven't quite had that. But we have symptoms of it. And that's what this was. It was symptoms of it. You had teams that were right there getting ready to lose, thinking about losing, but got it across the finish line. Texas, as you said, Texas being tied late. Oklahoma, a 2-point conversion from overtime.
USC laying an egg.
And we've talked about that for a month. I said this team's got at least 2, maybe 3 losses in them.
They still might have 2 left.
They
still have
probably
to play Oregon and Washington.
Yeah, at least those 2. Because where does the locker room walk out the door? I mean, you don't have to lose Caleb Williams to lose. Kids get frustrated, and this is a diva-filled team. These are guys that were not just Caleb Williams and the Oklahoma people that went around the country. This is a portal-driven team. the top of the top felt like they could make a super team and win a national championship with their Heisman Trophy candidate winner, Caleb Williams, the quarterback. How does that evolve as you now know that you're not only the best team in the Pac-12, you're not making the playoff for sure.
You might not be the best team in California at this point.
Right? I mean, you got problems, and you still look in Ohio State. Are you still looking at Utah? Or excuse me, Oregon and Washington right in the face. So, and to your point, last week, public got beat again. By the way, my chair's broke. Thanks, Mathis Brothers or whoever I got it. It's been broke literally since I bought it. I mean, literally since I bought it, it broke. I look like Kramer half the time, falling back over my chair.
Yeah, I think that's an investment for me soon as a new office chair. But
so stupid. Oklahoma, Oregon, Iowa, North Carolina, Texas, Washington, no covers out of those teams. They did get covers out of Mississippi, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Central Carolina or Coastal Carolina. Those were the top wager games, and so lost a couple more games they won. NFL, it got ugly again for the general public. No coincidence. We go 5-0. I could have released 10 last week, Brandon. I've gone 10-0. It's one of those. The games I didn't release also won. Everything won. I mean, if I got, I would. No, I say that I would have gone probably 9-1. I would have released the Chargers. Would have been that next little set.
The Chargers are a team, Jack, that I really wanted to be a fan of, just as not as a sports bettor, but just as a person that watches football.
Yeah,
that might be the most frustrating team in all of organized sports.
Well, and that's why I didn't release them. We didn't send them out.
Goodness.
Because I had deep enough card. I had deep enough plays without that. I didn't have to go there because we had a bunch that I really, really liked. It's going to take a little courage for guys last week, but you didn't have to watch the games. I literally went in the late games to watch Son of a Flower Moon or whatever, the movie here about in Oklahoma with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's not Son of a Flower Moon, whatever it is. For 3 hours and just checked the scores on my phone. It was nothing. I didn't even have to worry about it. We'd swept early. But Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Las Vegas, Cleveland, Detroit, Green Bay, all of those teams had more than 70% of the money on them. Oof. And teams like Buffalo had upwards of 85% of the money. Every one of those teams lost. They were 0 for Brandon. The general public got hammered again. We went 5-0 again. Again, we know how this story ends. Go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up, stop guessing, stop playing the public opinion, stop playing the public plays, and get signed up. We'll talk more about Detroit and Miami in the second segment when we get to the NFL segment, because I do want to talk now what? Where are we with them? They both step up in class, both lose. But in college, what jumps out at you this week, Brandon? Where are we this week? And by the way, before we do that, Oklahoma and Texas and some of these teams that struggled, cause for concern? Or is this just the nature of a season when you have a Central Florida team coming off a bye? You have a Houston team that every player was probably overlooked by Texas. It's just simply a motivation outcome. One team more motivated than the other. What are your thoughts on the teams that got a little bit lucky last week?
For those specifically, I don't think it's that much of a concern because we know that there's always peaks and valleys in a season. After a huge emotional game like OU and Texas went through, it was natural to not necessarily come flat, but maybe just not have the same attention to the details and game planning and everything else throughout the week leading up to that game. Now, if Oklahoma goes this week and struggles at Kansas, maybe there's some cause for concern. They have had some wacky games up there in Lawrence before. And if they go up there and it's not a one possession game in the fourth quarter, I would be surprised. At the same time, I think Oklahoma has overachieved to this point. And if they were to stub their toe in the next few weeks, would not shock me. Same thing with Texas. I think they've kind of overachieved, even though many people bought into the hype of them being, a potential national championship team. That schedule is backloaded. Outside of that Oklahoma game, there wasn't many in the conference slate that really stood out to raise some red flags for them. So wouldn't surprise me if they were to be sluggish, and especially with Ewers potentially on the sideline for a couple of weeks now. What does that offense look like without him at the helm?
Yeah, you could look at it one of two ways. If you're a fan of some of these teams, it's not just Oklahoma and Texas, but if you're a fan of one of these college teams that struggled, not counting North Carolina, that who knows? I can't explain
Wacky.
North Carolina. But if you're a fan, you look at one of two ways. You can say, okay, Texas circled the wagons for Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Got it done. That made us all think they were great. But
Yep.
really, this is just a pretty good team that had one really good week. The exact same thing can be said about Oklahoma.
Yep. Rallied the troops. That was their Super
Circled the
Bowl.
wagon. They
Yep.
got it done, but it really overvalued what we thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can say what you're kind of alluding to is, to this point, let's give them a pass. I mean, they're showing up not as prepared, but the good news is they got it done. This happens every year. We talked about this for Oklahoma. The last time they were not predicted to finish in the top 25 preseason. They've had that twice happen in the last 20 years. One time they beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. The next time they played in the playoff. So this team, when they've been projected to underachieve, they've really done well. But you could say, okay, well, maybe they're closer to that team that circled the wagons, or maybe they're a team that could go out, give 70% effort, not tackle, not execute an offense as well as they need to, miss field goals early to kind of change the vibe. But they'll be able to get by with it as soon as they play better. To your point, we're going to find out both of those scenarios going forward. We're going to figure it out. If you want to make money betting for against these games, by the way, I am killing it when I bet on or against Oklahoma.
I've had 3-1 with the one miss being a total.
Yeah, either 3-1 or 4-1. Yeah, I would just literally with them, and OSU's been a little worse, but really good. I typically don't ever release Oklahoma State, but it's very rare I'm going to release side and total of the game. I just felt like that was a great spot.
That's when you know.
Yeah.
If you're new to the service, or you're just hadn't been in it a long time, if Jack gives out a side and a total on a game, that puppy's hitting.
Probably going to win. Yeah, that means feel like I'm really dialed in on what's going to happen. I will tell you this, something to look forward to or watch in this week's Oklahoma game. Then we're gonna give away a free winner of it. So get ready on which game you want to talk about from a gambling standpoint this week. But something to look at this week. Oklahoma's receivers made Central Florida's secondary look really good, like great tacklers.
And they couldn't get separation at all.
Couldn't get separation. Now, I knew that Central Florida's secondary was better than the market projected, and that had been one of the strengths of their team, so I felt like it would slow down scoring. But the not breaking tackles, not being able to get by, really, I would be a little concerned if I was Oklahoma Sooner fan, just based on that. The first guy making the tackle and not be able to get as much separation, that needs to get back on track this week, because Kansas is not great in the secondary. They're pretty good, but not great. So FatJackSports.com, get this weekend, $149 or less, depending on when you're listening to the show, or $4.99 everything through November, or $5.99 football and hoops in November. That's about 5 weeks of hoops for $20 a week. Come on, guys. Get the plays, start making money, build some profit, go through the Super Bowl. Everything gets less expensive per week. Even longer are the better deals. A lot of guys signing up through the NBA right now because they get free baseball with that, everything, Triple Crown, all of that for free, and they get the best value of the entire year. So this week's college football, Brandon, what jumps out?
Oregon at Utah. That is going to be the game, I think, this week for anybody who's at least intrigued in what the Pac-12 can provide potentially for a playoff spot. Obviously, 2 top 15 teams. Utah just had the upset at USC, and Oregon kind of survived. They were sluggish early in that game against Washington State, rebounding after the heartbreaking loss to Washington. What can the Ducks do on the road against probably the second best defense they've seen all year, but playing that game at altitude for a offense that relies so much on tempo? I don't know how that's going to hold up going into the mountains as a touchdown favorite.
I have met people from Oregon. I've seen a lot. I'm out for the Pac-12 championship game in Vegas a lot of years. Just seems to work out that way. And they seem to me to be a passionate group about college football.
Yes.
You don't get that everywhere.
Oregon's one of those states that, outside of the Portland Trailblazers, they have no other professional teams. So Oregon State capture a lot of the attention.
So here's my question. How much of the loss to Washington do they blame on that coaching staff? Because here's what will be happening in Oklahoma or Alabama right now. If Brent Venables, and this is never talked about, but if Brent Venables did the same BS that Oregon coach did at the end of the Washington game, not just going for it on 4th down, and when he'd already proven they weren't going to score at will at that point, and Washington was up for the task not only the first time but the second time, but not punting it late in the game and going for it from midfield. with about, I don't know, a time left when you
Yeah, it was
could have
like minute 30, minute 40 left. Yeah.
punted it, could have played defense, could have used, they had all their timeouts, could have got the ball back in a very similar spot. That aggression, that stupidity, as I've called it, last week's show. How much of that are you blaming on Washington, or how much of it do you say, okay, well, that's who we are? I think that's a big question, because this week, the big question I have with Utah is if they had their quarterback, I picked them to. I felt like the quarterback was going to play this year.
Cam Rising, the
Yeah.
kid that transferred from Texas a couple years ago. Yeah.
Cam Rising. I felt like he was, he tore ligaments in the Rose Bowl or whatever, the New Year's game last year.
Shredded every ligament, I think, in his knee. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't back yet. But I had felt like, from what I had seen, that he was going to play. That's why I picked Utah to win the Pac-12.
Mhm.
I had bets on it. I had bets at 7-1 for them to win the Pac-12. Not out of the question, but certainly not as likely with how they're getting things done right now. If they had Rising, I would think this game would be really close. I think Oregon's a better team, though. And
Yes.
so that's the problem. Oregon 7-1 straight up their last 8 games. We know that. Utah, really, really good at home, Brandon. 19-1 their last 20 games at home. There's a bunch of these type of games this week where you have teams that are going to be underdogs that are not used to losing at home. And there's 3 or 4 of them up and down the college card that I would definitely, there's going to be, something's got to give, because these teams are not used to losing at home, and yet they're underdogs. So who do you like in this game? You like Oregon? You like Utah?
I kind of like Oregon. Utah, I think, has had USC's number for a couple of years. Even last year, that upset against Caleb Williams and USC was a feather in their cap. They're a tough team, but as Kyle Whittingham, their head coach, said in the post-game press conference last week and after the win against USC has Caleb Williams. They're going to do great things. We have a pig farmer at quarterback, and he plays good football. I mean, how long is that? That's not sustainable, I don't think. And they're not explosive offensively. So
No,
Oregon's going to be playing at a higher pace and be playing at a higher level than I think Utah's capable.
Much more well-rounded, for sure.
Yes.
I mean, we've never looked at USC and said this is a balanced team. This is a well-rounded team. I mean, they're literally the hot girl that can't spell her own name. I mean, they just look like they should be so much better than they are. Then you ask them to get in the spelling bee, and they're first out every time.
Well, to be fair, there's a lot of parents who would have named her Kaylee, and it's Leik. Very, very random, weird spelling. So she was behind the 8 ball from the jump.
I guess because we've got some of that going on at USC, and the
lot.
quicker you're able to realize, the quicker you have that conversation with her and figure out that this girl can't spell her own name.
Yeah,
and you start betting against. I did it with Colorado. I'm very good, apparently, at seeking out the super hot ones that don't have a lot of substance or can't spell, and then us taking advantage. I knew that with Colorado early on. I've known that with USC for a month now, that this team was going to lose a couple times. Oregon's not that animal. Very well balanced, very good on defense. Has Nix is a very good quarterback for Oregon. They're 6.5-point favorites here. I would do this. I'm not going to bet the game, and I'm not going to release the game. But if you may, and I'm not a money line guy typically, but I would money line Utah for about $50, and then I would watch the game. That's what would be my interesting part. I think Oregon's probably the right side, but I don't know if the points matter at all here. If Oregon's a little overvalued based on the first half of their schedule, and that they really are the team that lost to Washington, and that was their best performance, then this Utah team is 19-1 straight up their last 20 at home. It's worth 3-1 or 2.5-1 almost to go ahead and play $50 on the money line if you're going to watch a game. It's a 2:30, going to be a national game. So that's the way I probably handle that. Another spot, that's interesting to me is this BYU team. People don't get the Mormons. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting culture, that's for sure. Not only just as a whole, but also the ones that go to BYU and play sports.
Yeah, well, and if you're going to get a drinking game of the game, honestly, BYU's games are the best ones, because you could do the drinking game. You have to take a shot for every kid that's mentioned from a starting player. You'd be drunk by halftime, because they'll tell you the right tackle just had his 3rd baby on signing day last week. And then you got to take 3 shots. Quarterback, he's got his 5th kid on the way, the end of the month. I mean, that type of stuff. This is a different group of kids. Even in this post-COVID era, when you have these guys that are playing 6th and 7th year, I guess Rising will be his 7th year if he comes back next year. It's a lot, but It's not totally unusual because they got COVID. This is a regular thing at BYU. They go on the mission trip. I know 2 or 3 people that go to BYU right now. And it's very, very, not uncommon for them to go start their college career, go on their mission trip, come back, start having babies, and play football. So I guess my point is that Vegas is not caught up on this BYU team either. When they make them a big underdog early in the year, I thought they were pretty dialed in on what they are. They aren't. And then, they had an underdog at Arkansas. They ended up going to beat Arkansas. This last week, they were an underdog, played really well. So now they're getting 17.5 points to Texas. I don't know if this Texas team, I understand they're going to be more focused because of what happened last week.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the little engine that could, especially this time of year going to Austin. We typically see a Kansas or an OSU or somebody like that might as well be BYU. This time of year, go down and either pull the upset or take them to the wire. Maybe it was last week with Houston, but I would definitely keep an eye on that one. Look for BYU to stay inside the 17.5 at Texas. FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today. The longer packages save a ton of money. Brandon said we have Breeders' Cup coming up here in a week or so. Those plays are absolutely free. NBA plays are going out. Season win totals already went out. 11-2 last week against the spread. 5-0 on Sunday. 6-2 on Saturday. Everybody made money. If you want to make money, go to FatJackSports.com. Fill out the stuff. Press enter. You get the plays emailed to you immediately, and you're ready to go for the weekend or beyond.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to FatJackSports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. FatJackSports.com.
Hey, it's Brandon Rush from the Fat Jack Sports Service. If you want to stay in touch with everything related to the Fat Jack, follow us on all the socials. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it. We are there at Fat Jack Sports. You can also watch the Fat Jack Sports Hour on YouTube every weekend. Plus, see funny clips from the show, see Jack's appearances on the nationally syndicated TV show Beat the Odds. Stay connected to the Fat Jack at Fat Jack Sports on all the socials and on YouTube.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. And now here is our host. Even though it's Halloween, there's no tricks, just winners. It's the Fat Jack.
Yeah, we're trying to thank you, Brandon, so much. Trying not to trick anybody this time of year. It's such a climate of gambling right now around the country.
That is all tricks.
They're all tricks. I mean, I had somebody, say something on Twitter about me, which is just so stupid. I blocked him immediately because that's what I do. But yeah, basically said, how is the snake oil salesman? That is so insulting to me. And it doesn't happen hardly ever because the one thing I've done with this are try to lay a foundation of proving people that everybody gets the same plays. I'm betting those games myself. And I've been doing this for a long time, that there are no angles. There's no inside locks. There's no conference games of the week. There's no call on a recorded message. None of the stuff that basically has been, scam 101 in this industry. I don't do any of that. Everything is posted. Everything is documented. I've been vetted by everybody, ESPN, Sirius. I'm on this national TV show, which, by the way, those top winners are now 6-1 after the winner last week, called Beat the Odds. Go watch Beat the Odds TV, or if you're in, it's 150 markets around the country, including the Yes Network. It's on in Seattle and Boston and LA, all over the country. Go watch Beat the Odds. You'll see me on there. I've done everything I can to be transparent, to be credible, to be above board, to be honest about things, to be able to help people basically get the information that I'm already obtaining, use that information to help them make money betting on sports. So the one thing, and that's how I know you're an idiot, is when you get on and say something like, I'm a scam artist, or I'm this, or I'm that, because people don't say that anymore. Because unless you're just a complete, unless you're the girl basically that can't spell her own name, maybe you're not a 10, maybe you're a 2 and can't spell your own name. Unless you're that type of stupid, you know at this point, if you've done any research at all, that if I'm anything, I'm not crooked. I'm not a scammer. I'm honest, and I'm transparent. I may not win every week, and by the way, when we do, I make a point not to say we didn't win last week. Every time I say that, not only in this show, but on hundreds of markets around the country, on Sirius every week on the weekends. I'm on Mad Dog Radio. All
on
of
social media, where everyone is all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's looking for great information on Twitter. I try to throw it out there. It's so funny, Brad. I hit free winners last week. Crickets. I lose one, I'll have 10 people. It's just so, people are such haters. But anyway, the point is that if you're looking for transparency and honesty, and frankly, a guy that if you believe what I told you 2 weeks ago we lost in London and put everything up, you should believe certainly that we went 11-2 this last week, 6-2 on Saturday, 5-0 on Sunday, because all those games are also posted. So go to fatjacksports.com, sign up today and win. It's less than $100 a week for the longer packages. NFL, Brandon, what jumps out? What first of all, last week, what struck you as surprising or information that you learned that you didn't know before?
The Arizona Cardinals, Jack. My Arizona Cardinals might be a solid first half bet for some people looking for some extra stuff, because they are number 4 in the league in number of minutes led in the first half of ball games. What's crazy is that they are so horrific in the last 20 to 15 minutes of the game that they were 1-5. Heading into last week. But the first half of every game that they've been in, they have not only had the lead at one point during the game, but they've had, like I said, the 4th most minutes led in the first half of any team in the NFL.
Well, and that can very well be, Brandon, climate and culture as much as anything. Yes, they are short. They're showing up to gunfights with knives. And so maybe teams are overlooking him at least for a half. But you got coaching change there. You've got guys that might just be better at game planning pregame than making halftime adjustments. And then you could get culture in the players where guys, it's just they're late in the game trying to not grab defeat from the jaws of victory, and that becomes a mental thing for some players. And you don't see it as much in the NFL. Although I'll tell you, new studies are out, Brandon. 24% of all games end around 3 points. So 1 out of every 4. 44% of the games over the last year or so have teams have come from behind in the fourth quarter. And so the idea that we would have, related to horse racing, speaking of the Breeders' Cup, teams that start out strong, they're front runners, and then they get overtaken late. Am I telling you that the teams that are coming back are holding back in the first half? Absolutely not. But What I am telling you, it's a league full of things turning in the second half. That's why with all the gambling, we get people talking about scripting and rigged and all these things that are just so stupid and so not a thing. But you get that because it does at times look like, and I'll be guilty of this also. I with 2 or 3 minutes to go, a team doesn't pick up a first down, kicks a field goal to up 10, and I'm giving 9, let's say. You just can almost tell that the team that just kicked the field goal to go up 10, you're almost pulling against the field goal, because if they had not made it, they would have played more aggressive defensively.
Would have buckled down and not worried, because they at that point they know they can give. They need to give up 2 scores to be beaten.
That's
if
right.
If they give up 1, then so be it. So they lay off, play umbrella coverages, and just try to bleed the clock out.
And the NFL, there's almost all the teams are able to take advantage of that, and so you're at least going to get a field goal attempt, unless you get a sack, a timely sack or something, some guy just winning at the line of scrimmage. You're going to get you can kind of see things unfolding, and it's not just once or twice. You'll see this weekly, but that doesn't mean anything's rigged. It's not rigged. It's just you have teams that have different skill sets that, but that there could be something to it. The Arizona team. The thing that jumped out at me last week, and it wasn't surprising because I bet against both these teams, but Miami and Detroit, 2 of the most public plays of the week. They both went down because they basically stepped up in competition. It was kind of that not so fast game of the week. Which of those 2 teams would worry you more? If you were a fan of Detroit, Detroit had done nothing but cover. Miami, best offense in the league, covered 8 of the last 9 before last week. Both step up. The problem with Miami is that one loss had been to Buffalo, where they got rolled up against a good team. Everybody else they played not very good. But if those 2 teams, which of those 2 teams we talked about, OU and Texas, which of those 2 teams would you say, you know what, I wouldn't panic, and which would you be a little more concerned about going forward on what we saw last week out of Detroit and Miami?
I would have more concern if I were a Lions fan. Granted, the culture has had a massive shift since Dan Campbell has taken over. That said, they did not have the identity at all in that ball game against Baltimore. And let's face it, Baltimore does everything that Detroit does, but does it better. And the fact that they got out muscled on both sides of the football for a team that prides itself on its toughness, that was a definite kick in the teeth. Miami, I have no concerns. Miami is the Kansas City Chiefs light. they can flip it on whenever they need to, especially offensively, and be able to try and outscore you. I don't know that Detroit has that the firepower offensively to do that, but the way that their defense got obliterated Sunday was very, very concerning.
Yeah, I would tell you that in that particular game that Baltimore was due, and we hate to play
Mhm.
due. We hate to
Mhm.
say that, but they were due for a breakout performance. This had been a team that between the 20s had been doing more than enough to score 25, 30 points a game, but had not executed in the red zone. But they were really close to that type of performance. And Lamar Jackson talked about it after the fact. They said, we've been putting things together, felt like it was going to happen, da 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 da. Um, I would be a little concerned about Miami and the fact that they played a Philadelphia secondary that was really banged up.
Yeah.
And they should have had more success offensively. They made just enough mistakes. You could just definitely tell the quality of the team when you have them playing, somebody bad or medium, especially offensively, to somebody that's competent. And so I would worry a little bit about Miami from that standpoint. And I'll tell you this much: we released New England last week as an 8.5-point underdog.
And it was tough to bet, I'll tell you.
And it always is. Yeah, nobody wants to bet a team that doesn't look like they can do anything. But
That scored like 6 points the previous 2 weeks combined. Yeah, that was tough.
and then when this game started, they looked like the New England team of old, moving down the field, looked like they had a clue. I took a big exhale early on. Felt like this is probably a winner. I mean, they're
Right.
definitely going to cover. They might win the game straight up. They're up 10-0 before they even got going. The interception by Buffalo didn't hurt that either early in the game. Now Miami gets this New England team where they've really owned New England lately. 5-0 against the spread their last 5 games against New England. New England not scoring points under the total. 5 of their last 6 games overall. 5 of the last 7 in this series. Can't imagine. And by the way, Miami's one of those teams that they dominate at home. I remember when I was going to a lot of Dolphins games a few years ago. You could lay out in the aisle. I mean, basically nobody would want to go to those games this time.
Best
of year.
seat after kickoff type of situation.
Absolutely, yeah. Just give it a few minutes. Let them give up even a field goal early, and you'll get something cheap. Now they're 15-2 straight up their last 17 games at home. I mean, how things change. And this New England team, I would classify them as dangerous. But I think this is a horrible matchup for New England. So I do think Miami probably gets back on track here, whether they should be in panic mode or not.
I can't find the stat, and I've been looking for it since we just started talking about it. But I want to say that New England and Buffalo, anytime they play in Miami before Halloween, are like 2-9, their last 11 or something like that. The humidity obviously just kicks them in the tail, and it doesn't help sometimes the way the scheduling works that they get Miami the week after a more physical team. Transversely, Miami seems to always go to New England and Buffalo when it's 7 degrees out. So that's the flip side of that one. But yeah, that trend definitely would play out here because you get New England coming off a win they probably weren't supposed to have against a physical team. And now they got to go to Miami and they got to shift gears defensively because Buffalo doesn't do the same things that Miami does.
And we talk about stylistic matchups, just problems with stylistic gameplay. And that we took advantage of that a couple of times this last week. Teams that were kind of playing into, and you talked about it with Detroit and Baltimore, but that was what we had Baltimore as a release because I knew that this Detroit team does what Baltimore does, they just don't do it as well. And you have a bunch of that. This is a stylistic problem. And you're right. I will be going not this week, but the next week from New York. I'm going to New York to do some stuff for the Yes Network on the Jets and the Giants while I'm up there. And then I'm going to go to Florida. And when you go to Florida, and by the way, if you watch the New England game or the Giants game or anything up there this last week, it was cold, very cold, a windy, cold wintertime.
People in hoodies.
That's right. When you go to South Florida from there, it feels like it is 1,000 degrees. Yep. And the humidity feels like it has just attacked you when you get off the plane. They open the plane door, you get in that tunnel thing going up to this. I mean, it just absorbs you.
It's the air you can wear.
That's right. And it is so much worse in the winter. Even though the humidity is not as bad, it feels so much worse. So there is something to that. Also, stylistic problem. The Dolphins are a double-digit favorite here against a team that plays really good defense for a reason. New England cannot stop the Dolphins enough times unless they do what Buffalo did and turn the ball over inexplicably. So I would lay the 10 and play the Dolphins. And by the way, this is not a person that hates New England. I had them last week.
You've
Easy,
had him
easy.
a lot this year, it feels like.
I have. I did not bet him against Las Vegas, thank God, because I'm not taking heart medication. That safety late might have done me in. But yeah, I have had them 2 or 3 times, and they've covered a little bit. They haven't covered a little bit, but I would get off them this week. This is not a good stylistic matchup. So your second free winner, Miami Dolphins minus the 10 against New England. FatJackSports.com. NBA's already started. 11-2 last week, 5-0 on Sunday. Everybody won. Plays are emailed to you. Go to the questions tab right now before you sign up. Read the questions tab. That will get you kind of the vibe of what you're going to get, the selections, the opinions. You get baseball. You'll get the basketball, the baseball playoffs. So we go through the World Series are free. And you'll be able to see exactly what you're going to get, when you're going to get it. Talks about release times and live movements, line thresholds, all that. A lot of good information. We're having the website totally redone right now. It's costing a small import and then some. But
It'll be worth it.
I've been told. So I've been told. I don't like to go to the website or the web, but I understand it's important and it's going to do a ton of stuff too. So important for people to get as much information. There'll be an app attached to it. People who download the app, get push notifications, get their picks that way. All of that is coming. So go to FatJackSports.com. Get signed up today and start winning this weekend. Hey, this is the Fat Jack, and what a weekend it was. Did you bet last week? 6-2 on Saturday, a perfect 5-0 Sunday, 11-2 weekend. Guys, everybody made money again last week. Go to FatJackSports.com. The NBA season is now underway. You can make money betting these games. The plays are text to your cell phone or email to you, and they will make you money this year. Get everything through November for less than $100 a week. We were 11-2 last week. It's going to be another great weekend. Go to FatJackSports.com to win.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. And now here is our host for the final time in October. My goodness, where has the time gone? He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you, Brandon, so much. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 3. I enjoy these shows so much more after an 11-2 weekend.
After a week where you have, say, you're 1 or 2 units under, you're getting flooded with emails calling you everything but a white guy. I can imagine that, after we're sitting here recording the show after an 11-2, a 5-0 Sunday, that this is just cake. This is just, you're sitting there, you got the Office is probably on one of the TVs that you're watching, and then sitting here.
You're right. Normally it's Catfish today. I'm watching Catfish. Same story every time.
How it's 2023. I understand how people get catfished. I don't discount that. I don't understand how there's still a show called Catfish where people still think that this person is who they say they are.
It's tough because it's the same story every time. I mean, they live down the street. They never would even FaceTime me. I'm sure that's who I think it is. They're this super hot model who does all this. Well, then they're totally shocked that it's not that person.
They don't go to school here. You wouldn't know them.
They're super sad about it. And then they weigh 500 pounds and want to just be friends. I mean, it's almost always the same thing. Everybody's totally surprised. And you're right. I mean, at some point, we just got to look at the person and say, yeah, you're an idiot.
And those people are scammers, not Fat Jack Sports.
No, yeah, but I just watching this. I mean, I'm not scamming anybody. This is my afternoon while I'm taping the show. People
think that, everybody that's in sports handicapping is just scammers and snake oil. No, people who are on Catfished are.
Yeah, and 95% of the people in this business. I know a few that are honest, and there are actually a couple that are pretty good. But yeah, it's be careful. Apply common sense. Go to FatJackSports.com. Look around the site. Are the prices listed? Are the picks listed? Everything you're getting, is that then posted and documented? All those type of things you can answer right there on the website. And you don't have to talk to anybody. We don't want you to talk to us. We want you to win. So FatJackSports.com to do that. Yeah, Brandon, you were talking about a game of pretenders or show up or shut up type game. Who you like?
Yeah, just kind of looking at this schedule. And like you said earlier, this time of year, there's always something that kind of happens that makes you figure out where a certain team stands. 2 of those teams meet this week in the NFL. Jacksonville goes to Pittsburgh. Steelers somehow 4-2, despite an offense that would barely beat Iowa. Now, they go get a great, I think, road win at the Rams last week. And now they play a Jacksonville team, which has been so Jekyll and Hyde that I don't know who it is. I'm going to go on a limb. Granted, it's early. Still a lot of time left in the NFL season. Whoever loses this game, not going to make the playoffs. And granted, at that point, you're 500 around Halloween. That's not a huge reach, but at least for me, I can't take either one of these teams going forward if they were to lose to the other.
Well, and the thing is, how is Pittsburgh even being discussed in that light? I mean, Mike Tomlin is worth every single penny and then some. And by the way, we had Pittsburgh last week
Yep.
against the Rams.
I'm
They were one of our winners, and another one tough to walk up to the window and say,
telling you, that's how I knew it was going to be a good week, because when those texts come in on Thursday or Friday, whenever you start, throwing out the early picks here, some of these are just hard pills to swallow, but man, they're a lot easier on Monday when you look at your account.
Well, hold on to your hat because you're getting ready to start getting some Canisius and Marist, Niagara. I mean, all
And you
those
have to start Googling schools to make
Yeah.
sure A, that they actually exist, and B, that they play basketball. That's a fun time of year.
That's coming. Hold on to your hat there. But no, you're right. And
Southern Utah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take them for 5,000. Let's roll it. Jacksonville, Pittsburgh. You're right. We had the Steelers. I loved them off the bye. I love Mike Tomlin in that spot. More time, them to get healthy. None of that surprised me. Jacksonville has been so up and down. It's hard to know who they actually are.
Yep.
To your point, and also Jacksonville 5-0 against the spread. Their last 5 on the road. When they go on the road, they're doing nothing but covering. They've won 6 of 7 on the road. So this has been a road warrior type team. Don't expect a lot of points. 5 of the last 6 Steeler games in the series have gone under. 5 of the last 6 Pittsburgh games overall have gone under. And I think Pittsburgh is the type of team like New England that to win a lot of these games, they have got, unless they get defensive scores, they have got to keep you in the 20s. They cannot let you, they can't give you extra possessions. They can't turn the ball over or they're going to lose. It really breaks down to that. And they've got to keep it in the 20s. So I think under the total, a few of them, we saw this a little bit last week also. Atlanta was one. Who was the other one that I was looking at that just looks super under, and it was under ease? Oh, it was Washington and the Giants.
Yeah.
That was another. Those 2 games looked super under. We had just come off a 12-2 run to the under from the previous week. We're going to find some of these games every week. And last week was the first time in a long time, Brandon, that in Vegas they had more money bet on the under than the over in every single game. People had bought into that under theory.
Wow.
That's going to change. Teams are going to start getting over. There'll be some value in some of these games, but there's going to be a few of them that it's either under or don't bet it. Don't bet the game. I wouldn't bet the side because of Jacksonville's Jekyll and Hyde play this
which one
year.
you're getting, yeah.
You know which one you're getting. But what you do know is even at their best, Jacksonville, unless they get defensive scores, are not going to score 40. So you keep the game lower scoring. You play into what both the coaches want to do, which is don't make mistakes, stay ahead of the chains type deal. So I go under in that game. The other one that I'm going to back off of now, I thought Washington was going to beat the Giants. Didn't release that game either. But it felt like the Giants' offensive line was really bad and banged up, and Washington, let down. Had they not let down, I would have really liked Philadelphia in this spot. But because of that, you're given more points than you should have to. Sometimes making money, Brandon, is being able to play some chess when everybody else is playing checkers and spot these things where because something happened one week, the next week, everybody's going to jump on that information and we can find value in that. This is unfortunately not one of those spots because that value's gone because of Washington's performance last week. So,
and a number of weeks where, you want to play one extra game just because, things are going great, but sometimes not playing is a win.
Yeah. There's no reason to. We're going to keep building profit. I've said this now a few times, but we know how this story ends. And this story ends with every seasonal client deep into profit. And everybody that gets on, like last week, I had more people email me to whatever, say, you are the man, you're on fire, you're the best at it, all those type of things. I'm the same dude that they wanted to basically throw in the middle of the trash can 2 weeks ago. Nothing's changed other than some variance within the given week. Nothing has changed. And nothing has changed with me. Nothing's changed with the handicapping. We just know how the story ends. You're going to have a few bad weeks. You're going to have a lot of really good weeks. There's more good weeks coming than we've already had, and they're going to continue. Don't miss those. That's the question. How's your story going to end? Go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up today, and win this weekend.
All right, Jack. So there's a Taco Bell commercial that's going around right now, where there's an NBA player who has a Taco Bell built into his house, and the thing is, you can get Taco Bell anytime you want. There was a debate on the internet, and I'm curious to get your take on this. If let's say you and Karen are building a new house, but the thing is you have to include one chain restaurant to have a location in your house. What are you building?
I thought you were going to ask if I wanted to have dinner with Jay-Z or get $500,000. I thought that was the question.
I'm taking the money.
Yeah, right. I don't want to.
I've met enough artists and musicians and actors. Not that 10,000. I'd probably take the meeting, but yeah.
I don't know that I'd take
6 figures.
10,000. I mean, are we? Is he going to eat? I mean, are we going to actually have a conversation, or is he going to eat? I mean,
Yeah, we can sit down. Yeah,
because if he's just going to eat, I'm not going to pay $10,000 to watch Jay-Z eat.
no, that's fair.
But if there's something, 10 might be the least. I mean, I might 15. I'd probably take the cash. I don't even care. All right, a chain in the house. Wow, this is tough. Before my surgery, Brandon. When I was big, I mean, I probably Dairy Queened it, honestly.
Oh, I had Dairy Queen this weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Just a blizzard action. Yeah.
Foot-long chili dogs with the ice cream. They have good fries or solid fries. Dairy Queen's very underrated. I mean, and it's not that expensive either.
The biscuits and sausage gravy, by the way.
Right. So if I'm getting all of that, I mean, if I get all of that in the house, I mean, that would be hard to beat. It might still be hard to beat. If it's just one or two, it could be Sonic too. Sonic's a regional thing. Sonic has a ton of good stuff. I'm putting the whole restaurant what you're talking about is, you're going to get cheese sauce. You're going to if you get part of the menu, it'd be something different. But if you're going to get the whole menu, I'm probably going that way. I'm going to go to Sonic, get a Sonic or something that I can make some bad decisions in a hurry, no matter what time of day it is.
3 a.m. Give me the chili cheese tots.
Give me the chili cheese tots. If I want a breakfast burrito at 7, I'll get they have 24-hour breakfast, so I get the breakfast burrito. They always have ice cream. So that's a bunch of bad decisions built into my island. I probably enjoy that.
Side note, there needs to be a breakfast burrito like store or restaurant. That's their main a truck that does breakfast burritos. I would murder.
Yeah, you got to go to different parts of the country. I have places around the country that I crave breakfast burrito. There is a casino in Black Hawk, Colorado.
Yes.
There's a little Hispanic woman, makes them at her house. There's no way she's making them. The kitchen's not big enough. So you show up there sometime before 11, and she's got 30 of them, and there's 30 people in line. I mean, they're the best, really, really good breakfast burritos made by this one woman who brings them in and sells them. That's a place. LA has 2 different food trucks, one in Anaheim and one by Katie's house. Same type of deal. These people have the secret recipe for an incredible breakfast burrito. Little Hispanic families that own their own business there. So, but yeah, in Louisville, Kentucky, or even in Oklahoma, it's a tougher find for sure.
Yeah. Sonic's the only one that has decent breakfast burritos in either spot.
Yeah, unless you go to Southwest 29th Street. There's parts of the city that you'll have some spots, but you got to commit to it. You got to go that far town. Yeah. You got to get out of the car. Hard to drive up and get that taken care of.
The old me would say Waffle House. I am a Waffle House junkie, and anytime I can get my my all-star breakfast, I'm in. After some consideration, though, might have to go Whataburger.
Yeah, boy, my daughter.
Just because of the variety of the menu.
Yeah, that's where you end up going with your mind. I mean, right? I mean, you go to some place. I love Chick-fil-A, but I don't know that I want Chick-fil-A every day. Where I can go to some of these other ones that can offer me, and they have food all day long too. It's hard to
when you want Chick-fil-A on
Sundays. Yeah, Sunday at 11. That's the only time I ever crave it.
I would though like a Benihana type place too. Maybe.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, it's like I say, if we can just get one, let's just get a coupon. Let's get get a coupon, get a buy one, get one. We'll put surf and turf in there and go after that. So, big week of football. It's going to be a lot more winners going out the window, and I love the weekend's cards. So I'm excited.
I like Air Force. Air Force undefeated, not getting enough love.
I tell you the other thing, Brand. I did at one point on Saturday turn the guy next to me, and actually said this on Mad Dog Radio. There's part of me that just wants to retire from this and bet $1 million every time the armed forces teams play each other on the under. It just go back to the beach, because those games go under the total. They're on a 43-10 run, 81%.
We're gonna get a Minnesota Iowa total. in these games.
25-3 run the last 10 years. When armed forces play armed forces, the under in the last 10 freaking years is 25-3.
So you're retiring. I'm taking over. You're just gonna go live on the beach like Milton with his stapler.
going to give $1 million every time, and you'll just be able to look out at the beach and say, you and Katie Ross in the office will be sitting here going, okay, what's Jack doing? Well,
What's he up to?
He's got $1 million on the under. We know we know that. Let's hope it goes under. He's going to be back banging on the door, wanting back in.
He's going to run out of suntan lotion.
Exactly right. Final thoughts, Brandon?
I want the NCAA to drop one rule across all their sports. If you are in the top level, if you're Division I basketball, if you're in the FBS, if you are good enough, you play for the postseason. A couple years ago, Bellarmine basketball won their conference championship, couldn't go to the NCAA tournament because they had just moved up and they had a 2-year ban. James Madison absolutely should be in a bowl game, and they can't be because they are too new to FBS, and the NCAA will prevent them from playing in a bowl game.
What does that even mean? Who made that rule?
The people that want to ensure it's protecting the patriarchy is what it is. We're protecting, the blue bloods. Oh, if Michigan State doesn't get to go to a bowl game, oh God, James Madison deserves to be in a bowl game. They will dominate any team that they would be matched up against. They absolutely should be in. It's a horrible rule by the NCAA.
I saw that rule, and I knew that's probably where you were going. What is wrong with people?
Benefits nobody.
They come into the league. It's almost, and I know there's not a right and wrong, and we got to get out, but a wrong answer. But when you ban kids from postseason play that had literally nothing to do, that happened 7 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Those make no sense to me at all. You're punishing James Madison. What have they done wrong? And yeah, who are you benefiting? Some horrible team that limps into 6 games? It makes no sense at all. Yeah, the NCAA needs to clean their house in more ways than one. That's absolutely one of them. Guys, have a great week. Wager responsibly. Don't drink and drive. Get signed up at FatJackSports.com if you're going to bet. Until next week, for Brandon the Fat Jack, this has been the Fat Jack Sports Hour.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to FatJackSports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. FatJackSports.com.